Hey again, I'm Sarah. Yeah, the one who hired a private investigator because she's probably paranoid. Anyways, this is the second part to my story. I want to start by saying that for the first 3 days after I made that call, I felt mostly stupid. Not scared, not vindicated, just stupid. The kind of stupid that comes from realizing you've been running a whole courtroom drama in your head over 4 minutes at a barbecue. Patricia had taken my information professionally, asked the right questions, and I'd hung up feeling like I'd done something reasonable. By day 2, I wasn't so sure. By day 3, I was actively hoping she'd call me early just to tell me she'd found nothing and I could go back to being a normal person. The kids helped with that. They always do. Lily has this thing she's been doing lately where she narrates everything she's drawing while she draws it. Full commentary, sound effects, unprompted. You get the idea. I sat with her on the living room floor Tuesday afternoon while Mason napped, and she drew what she told me was a portrait of our family, starting with Daniel. Tall, yellow hair, even though his hair is brown, a big smile. Then she held it up for me to approve before moving on. Does Daddy look right? Looks perfect, I told her. So she went back to drawing, satisfied, and I sat there watching her and thinking that whatever Patricia finds, this is still real. These 2 kids are still real, and so are the years we spent together. Maybe, big maybe, Daniel did something wrong somewhere. Maybe there's paperwork that doesn't add up. Maybe something about the discharge. Maybe something I'm not cleared to know. Military records are complicated. I'd read enough forms in the past 3 weeks to know at least that much. There are gaps in documentation that mean nothing. Administrative errors that would make any civilian investigator raise an eyebrow. I had almost fully talked myself down by Thursday. And then Daniel called. It was late his time, which meant early morning mine. I was still half asleep when I answered, that particular kind of phone call where you're conscious enough to talk, but not quite conscious enough to be careful. He sounded good, relaxed even, the way he sometimes gets when he's settled into a rotation and the rhythm of it becomes familiar. Asked about the kids, told him about Lily's portrait, laughed and asked if he still had yellow hair in it, and I said yes, and he said, "Some things never change." We talked for 22 minutes, and the whole time I was lying there in the dark listening to his voice, and I felt fine. I felt like myself, like us. There was a moment where he said he missed the weight of Mason falling asleep on his chest, and I had to press my lips together to keep from crying in the good way, because it was such a specific thing to miss, such a Daniel thing to say. When we hung up, I lay there for a long time. And the thought I had, the very first thought was, I don't know where you are right now. Not in the deployment sense, not in the missing you sense, just I realized I had no real way to picture where he was when he said those things. I'd always just assumed the image in my head was accurate. Some base somewhere, a bunk, limited light, the careful conversations. But I actually had no idea. And that thought, small, almost nothing, sat in my chest for the rest of the day. Jump to Saturday morning, and the phone rings. Patricia. Lily was at my sister's. Mason was down for his nap. I'd been up since 6, which I told myself was just routine, but wasn't. I was on my second coffee. I picked up that phone the second it rang and walked straight to the bedroom, closing the door behind me. She started with what was confirmed. His service record, real, 2 years, honorable discharge. I nodded at that, even though she couldn't see me. She verified his full name, date of birth, home state, all matched. I was nodding along thinking, see, fine, I told you, fine. Then she paused, just briefly, and that single moment of pausing shook me to my core. Then she spoke again. She said there were inconsistencies in the deployment records I'd given her, that the dates didn't align with any active unit assignments she could verify, that the gaps, the 2 months here, the 3 months there, showed no corresponding military activity under his name or service number. At that point, starting to realize my doubts weren't unfounded, it took all of my 2 coffees boosted strength to ask her what that meant. She said she wasn't sure yet. Could be records issue, could be something else. She wanted to keep pulling before drawing conclusions, but she needed to ask me something first. She asked if Daniel had ever mentioned a city called Claremont. No. Then if the name Harlow meant anything to me as a surname, No, I replied, this time unsure of my own answer. Then she said, and this is where things started getting blurry, she said she'd found financial activity. Consistent, recurring, going back at least 4 years. Utility bills, a lease, a phone plan, all tied to a variation of his first name with a different last name, all tied to an address in Claremont. I think I said something like, "What kind of variation?" And she told me, and it was close enough that the air went out of the room. My brain went immediately to fraud, to some kind of identity theft, a stolen social security number, something clinical and fixable and horrible in a completely different way than what was coming. I started saying something about identity theft, about whether she'd considered that, about how these things happen. She let me finish. Then she said she cross-referenced the address, found a name attached to it, a woman, late 30s, and that she had, in the course of her research, brace for it, obtained a photograph, and then dared to ask me if I wanted her to send it, to which I replied yes before she got to the "do you" part of her question. The photo came through 30 seconds later, the longest 30 seconds I have felt in my life, and I gave birth, twice, no C-section. A house, ordinary, suburban, Saturday morning quiet. A man standing in the driveway in a gray t-shirt and jeans, laughing at something, completely at ease in the particular way of someone standing in front of their own home. Same jaw, same laugh, same way of standing with one hand in his pocket. I stared at it for a long time, and then I scrolled. There was a second photo. Him at what looked like a backyard, a woman beside him, close, easy, the body language of years, and in front of them, running through a sprinkler with her arms out and her head back, a little girl. She couldn't have been older than 4. I don't know how long I sat there. At some point, Mason woke up from his nap and started calling for me through the monitor, that small, insistent voice. I put the phone face down on the nightstand, stood up, I went and got my son, and I held him for a very long time, without saying anything at all. And if you're wondering what I'm thinking, I am very relieved. I think my husband has a twin. This has been the second part of the story. I have yet to burn out, so expect the third part tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed, and stay spicy.